Ceiling.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast. Today I guess we're talking about, I'm going to say guess, but we're talking about...
You don't know?
No, I don't know. Well, okay, so here's what that means. So we're going to talk about rescuing your writing career, and that's because we, as the wordsmiths that we are, we're sitting here for 10 minutes before we started saying, what is the word that we want there? You want to do something to your writing career, rescue it.
The conversation was way too long naming this episode. But, because a lot of the titles that we were trying to come up with just sounded soft, but rescue almost sounded too hard. Like, because there are a lot of people who they don't need to rescue their writing career at all. You know, like we're in a shape right now where there's nothing to rescue, but there are so many things that we could do better, and that we're trying to, systematize and prepare for next year. But preparing for next year does not sound like a good name for the show either. So,
well, what's the idea? What's the concept?
Well, just taking. Dave actually pitched this show as, of course, because he's doom and gloom, right? So his pitch was, you've already fucked everything up, and you ruined NaNoWriMo, and your years.
Well, I think a lot of times for NaNoWriMo, or for generally end of the year, I think people get reflective about, where they are, especially, as January approaches and you're setting up your goals and stuff. People are like, okay, well, I didn't finish my book for NaNoWriMo, or I didn't like it, or maybe you are already writing and you didn't do NaNoWriMo, but you're writing, regularly, but you're not happy with where it's going. So what sorts of things can you do to, kind of clear the deck and, get everything in order to start the year off right?
Which I actually do love, because I do get very reflective this time of year, and I do, we're already starting to have our company conversations about our goals for next year and the things we want to do and the things we could have done better this year. So I think it's a great apt topic for this time of year.
Well, and also, if you're anything like, well, Dave always expects the worst, but if you're anything like me and Sean, what we do is we set goals, and when we start to approach our goals, we think, well, what if it did this? And then, so we've set a new mental goal that's actually higher than the existing goal, which means that it's totally unreachable. And then so you'll end up feeling like you didn't hit your goals, or you set lofty goals to begin with. So the whole point is, how do you recalibrate? How do you refresh? How do you either made your goals, or you didn't make your goals?
Yeah, recalibrate. It's not the sexiest title, but that actually may be the best word for what we're trying to talk about here.
Well, speaking of words that end in "ate," why don't I mention just the clumsiest transition ever? But I want to mention it is. If you're one of our live listeners, you actually will have to wait on this. But we're creating a podcast. I think we're just going to call it Iterate and Optimize.
Yeah, this is just like the Story Shop podcast, where it's just a sideways podcast that'll be special.
And it's going to be interviews with people who've iterated and optimized their business as run up to the Iterate and Optimize launch. That's the sequel. I know we said that Fiction Unboxed was the sequel to Write, Publish, Repeat, but it's not. It was like a 1.5. Iterate and Optimize is truly a sequel. It's just as in the weeds. Not in the weeds. That's the wrong connotation. But it's just as nitty gritty. It's just as much.
It's detail oriented. Yeah.
Take home as Write, Publish, Repeat.
Yeah, Write, Publish, Repeat really. This is how we are building our business. This is what we do. This is our model. And we just kind of took readers of that book, basically brought them into our office and said, this is everything that we're doing. And then Iterate and Optimize this is everything we've done since. And there is a lot of detail in there. The draft is finished, and we talk about everything that we had started in Write, Publish, Repeat. We kind of give a check-in. This is what we've done. This is how things have been since then, and a lot of new stuff too. But the interviews will be cool, because Iterate and Optimize really just talks about our business, because that's what we know. But we also think it's really cool to get insight from other creative entrepreneurs and see what they're doing and seeing how they're building their businesses, and what they're editing out and leaving in, and all of that.
Do you have any of those people that you've confirmed that we can mention who is going to be in that series? Because we're recording this in advance, so we don't know.
I want to say no, not yet, because Yes, we have confirmations, but until they're recorded, like
Okay, well they're cool though. Like trust us, it's going to be some people you would expect and some people you wouldn't expect, and some really good iteration and optimization there. So the just iterate and optimize itself. The book, the release date is January 19th, and we'll probably put up an Amazon pre-order a couple of weeks ahead of time. It'll be available for pre-order everywhere else earlier, but Amazon punishes you. So January 19th for that, but the podcast itself, the one that we're talking about, that's promotional for that, but it's a podcast. It'll be free. You can listen to these interviews. Is I'm not going to give the short link we came up with actually, because it'll just be at the sterlingandstone.fm. That's the iTunes podcast page, our page on iTunes, and the Iterate and Optimize podcast will be in that list. Probably.
Yeah, as soon as it's live.
Yeah, by the time this is live on the feed, which is mid-December, so if you're, like I said, if you're a live listener, you probably won't get it. If you're on the feed, the iTunes podcast feed, then that should be up now. So anyway, so that's that. That's the Iterate and Optimize podcast. That's Iterate and Optimize. Something cool.
Who wants to go first?
Nobody.
All right.
Okay, well we'll just close the show down then.
Okay.
Guys.
No, I'll go. So, okay, so I'm reading a book right now, and I have a pretty long queue, and there's I acquire books all the time, right? I buy new books both in Kindle and in audio, and I'll get book recommendations and I'll add it to a list, and at this point, like, I don't even know where some of these books came from. There's just so many. And I just wanted to be surprised. I felt like being surprised. And, I usually know what the next 5 or 10 things I'm going to read at any given time are. And the other day, I just got kind of bored of that, everything being so prescribed. And so I just wanted to be surprised. And so I picked a book, and I don't remember who recommended it, why I got it, or anything. But it was by an author named Don Winslow, and the book is called A Cool Breeze on the Underground. And I don't even know why I picked it, but it's awesome. The writing is super, super good.
This is fiction.
This is fiction, yeah. And it takes place in, I'm going to guess, like 1980, and it's kind of a detective story, kind of a mob story too. And I don't know, it's just really good. The metaphors are great. The writing is super, super crisp. There's no wasted words. Great, rich language. The information is revealed at the proper time, so you're not getting too much too soon. It's nice reveals, and they do cool things with the timeline. It's awesome. So A Cool Breeze on the Underground by Don Winslow. If you know who he is, awesome. I'd never heard of him, but the book's really enjoyable.
I actually saved something cool that I had put a pin in. I had flagged for last week. But I saved it because Dave wasn't on the self-publishing podcast last week, and so I wanted to save this one. So I finally read a recommendation that both of these guys had made, The Girl with All the Gifts, and awesome, very, very good book. We actually, one of the reasons I know about this book is because Yesterday's Gone lost the Audie to The Girl with All the Gifts, and
deservedly so. That's a great book.
But it was really good. I finished it in like a week, and it's a different kind of zombie story. Is kind of all I would want to say, and it was a different conception of zombies, different too than what Sean and I have for Dead City. It was different from that too, but really, really cool. And one of the things that struck me right away, this is just stylistically, it has nothing to do with enjoying the book, is I don't think I've ever seen a book pulled off in third-person present tense. That was the weirdest thing to get used to.
Yeah, but it worked. I thought
be careful what you say with the story.
Right. Well, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
You already kind of messed it up by saying what kind of story it is.
But come on. I mean, it's that. Like, that pretty quickly. You figure that out unless you're dull. That within a chapter or two. I mean,
yeah, but still, never mind. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
think that's a
I'm
safer
gonna say
bet.
that's not a spoiler. If you read any reviews or even really the product description, I think that's or chapter one. I think that's pretty much out there.
But I'm really enjoying. I mentioned this a few times. I got my morning routine down now, and now I'm reading about an hour and a quarter every day, and I'm really liking that. Like I write now from pretty firm, 7:15 to 11 a.m. Pretty firm, and that's enough time. But the reading ahead of time gets me kind of up to speed. I mentioned I'm reading the first 15 lives of Harry August right now, which continues to be really awesome. It's getting cooler and cooler. So,
do you feel that specifically, like the style of what you're writing or reading, influences what you're writing at all, or no? It's just being exposed to language early helps.
a little, yeah. And actually, I have a very specific answer to that question I can give you later, Sean. But yes, I think that does happen. But you don't. I don't think you want to be like a tree in the breeze, basically, where like, oh, there's this, now I'm gonna borrow this on this day's writing, even though it's not appropriate, just because I was reading that this
Third
morning.
person,
It's something totally
present
different.
tense narrative.
Right. Chapter 17 of Devil May Care will be second person present tense. Or third person present tense. Okay, so that's mine, and that's pretty cool, I thought.
Mine is Fallout 4, but I've only played I've only played 2 hours of it, so I don't know how cool it is yet.
Do people
But just
call
the
you
fact that it
Fallout
exists
Boy?
is
Should we
enough.
start calling you that, Fallout Boy?
What's that?
I'm gonna start calling you Fallout Boy.
Okay.
That's okay. No response there. Take that back. Just pull that back.
I'll call him Fallout Boy if it makes you happy.
All right.
Dave, can we call you Fallout Boy?
No,
There's
that's
just so many
stupid.
better things to call him. Is all.
Yes.
That's true. That's it. That's all. You just Fallout 4. That's
I played the tutorial. I don't know. I played the tutorial in like half of one mission, and then I had.
Don't give something cool that you can't expand upon.
Well, I know it's cool. Come on, it's fucking Fallout. It's awesome.
Well,
I can't wait to explore the world more. I love that about the game. So yeah, that's it. I got nothing else cool.
that was anticlimactic. I'm just gonna say.
I'm sorry, I had a shit week.
How are your ankles?
No, we'll save that for Better Off Undead.
Oh, so they're bad. I take
No,
it.
not my ankles. My new shoes I just spent a lot of money on are fucking hurting me now. So yeah.
Wait, what? Okay,
Yeah.
that is Better Off Undead.
Yeah.
Or worst show ever. We need to get used to calling
Yeah,
that worst
sorry.
show ever.
I have actually.
I
Well,
forgot.
I have not. I'm terrible. Yeah. As a bonus, something cool that's collective. The worst show evers that we recorded yesterday that were the dating game and Cards Against Humanity. Awesome.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. You'll see those on the Better Off Undead feed.
Oh, look what you did!
The worst show ever feed in something like 2 months, I think. All right, so optimizing your business, rebooting your business, rescuing your writing.
Well, we should talk how it relates to at least the Collective Inkwell side.
Yes.
We stepped back. And I mean we were wondering what to do as far as we have a couple series we're going to finish off, White Space and Available Darkness. And we have something else that we need to write at some point, Monstrous. But
For Nevermore.
And for Nevermore, yeah. So we got 4 different things that we could have returned to, and you can make an argument that maybe we should have returned to them. But Sean and I, talked about it. We felt like we needed some momentum going into the new year. We wanted to start a new standalone series of books that you could read on their own. But there's also like a greater story overall. And we decided to write and get a few in the bank before we actually launch any of them. So we're ahead of the game. When we start the new year. Sean can elaborate more.
Yeah, well, I think there's a really great takeaway in that sometimes when you are kind of floundering a little bit, and not that CI was floundering, but it wasn't the same. We weren't hitting the same sparks as we were at one point, and I think that's because we were trying to duplicate a model that was really hard to duplicate. In 2012, it was a matter of how fast can we go, right? And that's what it wasn't sustainable for us, and so. so trying to repeat that and trying to get product out there just very quickly, that wasn't working. So we needed to kind of reset and say, okay, well, just because that worked for us then, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for us now. So what can we do to kind of reboot, recover, and really getting stuff in the bank so that we're not worried about what our next release is really made a lot of sense for us. And so I think that that's kind of what we did, and I think that that's a really good thing for anyone to do. Is sometimes it's the hardest solution is to just be patient, and so that's what we've done, and we've kind of backed off, and we've said, okay, we want to start next year with stuff in the bank, and you guys are such assholes. I'm so trying to keep my focus. Such assholes. It's my wife who is on a plane right now. She's letting me know that they're safe and they're flying. All right, that's what it is.
You should put that on vibrate.
Well, I don't get text.
For all of you listening to the podcast who thought the cookies were done, blame Sean for the false alarms.
All right, so we've done a great job, I think, of being patient, because that's hard. When you want to get those books out and you want to get those sales and you want to generate that kind of response from your audience, but then you're always like running to catch up. And I feel like CI for the last couple of years has always felt like we're running to catch up, and that was hard. It's hard financially, it's hard emotionally, because Dave works really hard and he wants to do the right thing, and he wants to get that stuff out there, and he wants to satisfy the fans, and he wants to satisfy the inkwell itself, and that's just kind of hard to always be running to catch up in that way. And so we just, I don't know, it was maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I think it was early summer, we just kind of took
after
a step
Yesterday's
back.
Gone season 6 was
Okay,
done.
so yeah, it was after. It was early summer, and we finished that, and we said, okay, what can we do next? We do like the idea of a series and something that we could write a few of, but we don't need to talk about that series. We could talk about that series later. The idea is that we needed to reset. We need to say what is best for the partnership, what is best for the inkwell, what is best for our fans too. Because we do want to satisfy them. We do want to finish off these things that we started, but we have to be in the right place to write those things so they're as good as they can be and they do an appropriate job of finishing things off. And we can't just do that because it's time. Like, that doesn't really work for the inkwell. So what we did instead is thought, okay, if we get these other things done, then the time pressure is off, because now we have releases through the year, and we don't need to do a book a week, but we do need to have a consistent schedule, and that will help our readers be excited about everything that we do. It will give us more to talk to them about, and it will help our emails be more consistent and all of that. And so the big solution was, okay, well, we just have to spend the rest of this year producing and not releasing and be okay with that. So it's like tantric writing, for the inkwell for the rest of the year.
Leap right there.
And so it's been fun. It's been really fun. I'm in love with the series that we have going. I think it's going to be really great. But
I also think the fact that we didn't release it right away makes the writing that much stronger, because in book 3, there's all these things that now we can go and go back to book 1 and
seed stuff.
Yeah, and it makes it so much better.
Yeah, and it's been really rewarding as far as the collaborative part of it and just kind of doing this. But I'm, as much as I love this series and I'm looking forward to it, I'm also looking forward to going into 2016 in a way that the inkwell never has. We've never had a bank of content before where now we can kind of drip stuff out, and it takes all the pressure off of what we have to do next. So now we have these few books that are in the bank, and we can sit down and say, okay, what is best for us creatively, what is best for our fan base, and what can we do next? And that's going to be really exciting.
What do you think the message is here for the average listener in terms of rebooting and rescuing your writing career?
Well, I think being patient when it's hard to be patient. I think that it's so natural to want those instant fans, and I think a lot of people get that first book out, and then the write, publish, repeat model is to put a lot of content out, and they're just putting it out and putting it out and putting it out. But I think that and we could do that. We've got a couple of these finished. We could put them out right now, but then we're going to be racing. I think it's that advice that we give people often when they say, well, what if you don't have any books? What if you're a first-time author? And we say, well, maybe write your first 2 or 3 books before you release that first one, because if you're not finding the traction that you want, then maybe it's okay to play the patient game and get a few things done and then put them all out at once with a schedule, because it's so easy to put something out and then get lost in the game of how do I drive traffic to this book, how do I get on Facebook and tell people about this book, and then that becomes part of your job, to sell the book that you already have, when you can kind of batch it, like, okay, for the next 6 months my job is just creating things, and then my job is going to be different. I'll be creating things and selling things. But I think it's very easy to divide our time and our focus, and we have a hard enough time, and this is our full-time job. And I think a lot of authors they're moonlighting, right? They're working hard jobs, they're parents, and then they're writing on the few scant hours that they have here and there, and trying to piece that all together and selling one book at a time. That's hard. That's a really difficult thing to do. So I think being patient is just a great way to handle it, if you can be patient, which is not always easy.
And I think, specifically for myself, the past month, because I had a health scare that I talked about on the other podcast, Walking Dave and stuff, and it has forced me to do the things I should have been doing all along, which was, creating a schedule, living by the schedule more than I was. And generally speaking, I've, for the past few years, I felt in almost every area of my life that I've been running to catch up on a lot of things. And it required me to just stop, pause, and just kind of get my shit together, basically, and create a schedule that would work going forward for me, and work in all areas of my life, with my family, with my writing, the business here, just so hold myself accountable, but also create a better schedule. And before, I was always just racing, and I just never felt good about it. And now we're in a space where I feel like I'm more productive now than I have been in a long time. And I think that's another takeaway that people can get. If you have a similar problem to that, you might not have that, but if you do.
But that's important too, because a lot of times Dave's a really good example. He works hard, and he writes fast compared to the traditional speed, right? But he was still always feeling like it's not fast enough, it's not good enough, and that's hard. That's psychologically defeating, because then you feel it's very hard. We always say that success breeds success, but the opposite is true too. If you can't find that momentum, then it's very hard to get it, and you just feel defeated all the time. And Dave went through long cycles where he was feeling defeated, and now we're having story meetings, and he's excited. I got the story, we're nailed, like this is gonna go, and and to have a couple of things that are just finished and waiting, it sets you up for success. So it's framing. Wouldn't you rather be set up for success, have a few things in the bank, and be ready to release those while you're working on something else, rather than have everything out and now you're racing to catch up? We have a couple of romance authors who we were talking with, and it's the same thing. Like they have a very ravenous audience, but they're almost trapped by that. They always have to be producing, otherwise their success isn't there. And just being able to take the time and put some stuff in the bank, I think, is really powerful. And that's one of our big Sterling and Stone goals for 2016 is to be several months ahead on every single imprint.
I think that Sean has already compared this to made a sexual metaphor. So I'll make a financial one. I feel like this is a good time of year for sort of I don't remember who did this, declared email bankruptcy. So the concept was the inbox was so hopelessly overcrowded, and like just never going to catch up on the on email, and whoever this was, I think I might know who it was. I think she basically said, like, sent out an email to her entire contact list and said, look, I'm declaring email bankruptcy. I'm deleting everything. I'm starting fresh. If you've had something that you've been waiting for, then you got to email me again. And I think that actually, I once heard about the Italian postal system did something similar after a strike.
Really?
They had
Mail?
yeah, I think they had a
Oh
back.
my.
Somebody told me this when I was traveling that they had like they had a postal strike, and so the mail piled up, and then at the end they didn't know what to do, so they just burned it.
Oh my
Oh.
God! Really? Is that a real story?
It's what
Imagine somebody's like dying love
Oh
letter.
my God! I
is
feel like
fucking
there's like
lost.
30 stories
As-
that could be written around that premise.
as was told to me. Oh, I like that idea. Let's do a family of stories that. Okay, well anyway.
The lost
So-
letters.
Oh
But
my God! That's a great premise.
My point is that I think that, and it follows the theme of catching up, like the theme of like, okay, well, so let's just because money is easy, let's just pretend that you had a financial goal and you said I wanted to make $5,000 in publishing in my part-time thing in this year, and you made 1,000, and so now you're like, this is the equivalent of saying, okay, well now I got to make 4 plus another 5 this next year, or 10 or whatever it was to get back on schedule. And I'm not trying to make this about money, but it could be in terms of books, pages written. There you go. That's maybe even better. I was going to write 1 book this year and 2 books next year. So now I only got half a book written, so now I got to write 2.5 next year. And I think that clearing the deck and having like business bankruptcy, not literally, where you're like, okay, well this is the reset. I either hit my goals or I didn't hit my goals. Now, from where I am right now, not where I wanted to be, what do I do going forward? And I think that, Sean and I just had the first of several company goals meetings recently, and it's kind of cool to say, well, where are we right now? What do we want to do? Because we aren't where we thought we were going to be, not in a negative way, but just in a different way. Like we didn't think we were going to be launching an app and all these other things that we're going to be doing now. And I think that if we're talking about sort of rescuing or maybe optimizing, rebooting your business, whatever, a good way to say is, analysis, self-awareness. Where is my business? Where is my career today? And based on that, not some ideal that I set a while ago or at the beginning of the year, what do I want to do going forward?
Yeah, it is a recalibration because I think that it's very easy to get lost, right? Where you think that what it's like with dating someone, right? And when you are first dating them, it's very exciting and it's new and everything's great. But then you slightly change and your partner slightly changes, and you have to stay together. You have to make sure that
You have to burn them.
you have to make sure that you are constantly communicating to keep that relationship vibrant.
Or that.
And I think that your business is the same. You want to communicate with your business self and say, are my goals the same as they were a year ago? Because our goals aren't. Our goals are a little bit different. And our structure is a little bit different. We have a lot of support now. We've really added to the team. And so that all makes a difference into how we frame everything going forward. And so asking yourself those consistent questions and giving yourself an inventory. This is what I wanted a year ago. This is what I wanted a month ago. This is what I want now. That doesn't mean you should, waffle, but you really should take strong emotional and business inventory of where you want to take your creative business.
Well, that's a nice thought, but it's a little bit of bullshit because sometimes you have a big inventory of like books that you ordered and they just have terrible covers and all you can do is burn them. And then you're just like, get all my manuscripts together and this was a failure. Take all your put all your files on a thumb drive and all the physical copies and all the books that you have with the shitty cover and you just burn it, just like the Italian postal system, and you start again, right?
I heard these 2 jackasses last week on this podcast doing a horrible ad read, even worse than horrible ad reads we do. And they talked about 99designs.com/SPP being
I hope they lose their sponsorship.
You don't need to burn your books, Johnny. You really don't, because the design gurus at 99 Designs are there for you. They can help you create awesome
they don't
book
support
covers.
book burning?
They
aren't
don't
in favor of that?
No, they don't. Not that I'm aware of.
There's a lot of suppression out there, a lot of censorship, and
yeah, they don't have like a Gestapo going through 99 Designs and burning book covers. No, the people at 99 Designs are the good guys. Okay, the good guys and girls of the world. They're the heroes that make quality book covers affordable for everybody.
I mean,
everybody.
they're really saving the world from the Nazis.
They are. They are. If they were around during World War II, maybe Hitler wouldn't have got as far as he did. I don't know.
A lot of
I mean,
people
that might
don't
be
know
going
that it
out
was
on a limb.
Axis, Allies, and 99 Designs in World War II. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, 99 Designs was even more effective than the atomic bomb. Some would say.
But in a very philanthropic,
Yes.
let's all get along sort of a way.
Yeah,
Like
they
it was
didn't murder
it was a bomb of friendship and possibly hallucinogenic ayahuasca.
Yes, it was a bomb of hope, really.
There you go.
In
Bomb
99
of hope.
Designs, 99 Designs is your bomb of hope. You want to start off the year with an awesome book, awesome sales, awesome book cover. 99 Designs. That's where you got to go. That's
So
all
if
there
you
is to it.
want-
They are the heroes.
If you want many megatons of nuclear hope, contact 99 Designs, 99designs.com/SPP. Use that link. You will get the free Bomb of Hope Power Pack, which is some sort of all right, a metaphor's falling apart on me. And you get the Power Pack upgrade, gets you more designer time and attention, and you'll get more attention on your designs. And if you don't like it, you got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. It's like a cosmic rewind button.
No, just go back into your Fallout shelter and go about your business.
Do you have a Fallout shelter, Dave,
Not yet.
for playing Fallout?
Not yet. I need
It's a
one.
shelter where you get away from Sean. It's a shelter
Yes.
from Sean for playing Fallout. All right. So continuing, now that we know what to do with our
We
our
don't have
inventory of
well
books.
while our comments are not working on YouTube, I did ask people to tweet me. Somebody direct messaged me, so I don't know if it's meant to be public or private, so I won't say the name. But they said starting late in life terrifies me. I'm almost 45. That's not old, but I still ask myself, how old is too old to start your life over?
It's certainly not 45.
Yeah, no way.
You're fine.
I didn't even start. I mean, I'm almost 40. I didn't start writing until a few years ago. It's, whatever. Like, it's easy, especially when you look at everything kids have today. I know I'm sounding old just...
Wow, just you hear that little geezing thing that he just about did there?
Right.
Get off my lawn.
Well, it's true, but I'm looking at all the tools that my children have, for example, and imagining, growing up with all of this around you, and that makes me feel like, man, I'm so behind. I mean, the writers of the next generation, they're not going to use their fingers. They'll be dictating everything and pumping out books every week, and they're not going to be like those stupid little 15,000 word books Dave and I used to do. These are going to be like War and Peace every week because they dictated them. But whatever, like wherever you are now, that's the best place to start. I think it's really easy to let those insecurities get to you. I mean, Dave had been talking about forever, writing Available Darkness or something, since he was a kid, really. And it wasn't until he made a decision that I'm going to do this. But you were already 40, right, Dave? Is that right?
When we wrote that?
Yeah.
No, it's 2008 when we started, so I was...
No, but when
38.
that got published,
Yeah.
See?
40 exactly, actually.
Okay,
Or
so
41.
So, like, you could have easily said, you know what, I'm over 40, it's too late to start this, but Dave's, already over 40 and just getting started, really. I mean, I know that we've been doing this for a few years now, but we're still at the very beginning, the infancy of all of it.
I'm curious how we're defining starting over, too. Like, you can start writing, there's no limit on that. I wouldn't quit your job today and decide you're going to become a writer and,
No.
on a hope and a prayer. I wouldn't do that. But you could, you move into it slowly, just like anything else we talk about.
Right. I mean, don't try to get a gig on a teen drama, right?
I was hoping to be in the relaunch of Dawson's Creek. Thank
Joey.
you. You just ruined it.
That's funny because I was going to use Dawson's Creek.
Of course you were.
So, don't try to do that. But if your dream is just to start writing, I don't think that there's a age limit on that. Just do it. And like the guy said, take it slow.
Got a few more comments on Twitter. JF Erickson says, I'm 50, and I hope that it's not too late to start over. Buddy Gott says, enjoying today's show a lot. You guys continue to inspire me. And Remy Kuro says, tell Sean about the letter idea to read Terry Pratchett's Going Postal, which is a Discworld book. I've not read it, though.
Oh, I'm making a note.
Okay. It's like Discworld book 33. I don't know. Can you just start there, or?
Well, I don't know. I actually.
I'm not reading 32 books.
Ed made it sound like you can
Start
them in
anywhere.
any order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually have a bunch of Terry Pratchett on my queue. Although he didn't make it in front of Don Winslow apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm hesitant to start Terry Pratchett. I've had so many people tell me that I would like it, especially like friends in England and stuff. And but it's they say there's like the writing is funny, and I'm not big
you're
on
so scared of funny,
sci-fi
dude.
or yeah. I don't know.
Stop being. It's not campy though. I think you're confusing
Yeah.
humor and
I am.
camp.
Yeah, I'll just try it. What the hell?
Like camp is
I
camp.
hate camp. I hate camping
Right,
stories.
but that's not camp. That's humor, right? There's a difference.
Camp reminds me of my summer at Christian camp. So
There you go. I was
Oh,
going to
stop
see
it.
if I should make an inappropriate comment, and I figured Dave would just work his way
You
around
just
it on his
knew
own.
Dave would.
you wait
Okay,
for me to fuck it up.
so back to the topic. So because we talked a little bit about CI. What kind of major recalibration can we talk about besides that, Johnny?
The goal setting stuff that I think that we did. I don't know how much of that were, because you always do. You used to do a goals post. You probably do a goals entrepreneur's almanac.
I'll do an almanac soon. Yeah, once we're kind
So-
of more firm on what we want to.
Right. So I was curious if there's anything in there that you would feel comfortable pulling out and talking about as an example of sort of you recalibrating and rebooting and rescuing, apparently.
Well, there's a lot of it. I know that one thing that we talked about was, how to get attention on individual franchises, because we have a lot of different franchises, right? And Realm and Sands is the best example of just being kind of scattered, right? So we have the Beam and we have the Dream Engine and Cursed and standalone Axis, and it's a very diverse catalog. Which is creatively super, super rewarding, but it's hard to kind of fan the flames of any one thing. And so, one of our goals for the new year is to really try to figure that out, because if it was if the Dream Engine, for example, was our full-time job, the Dream Engine would be, a lot bigger than it is, but it's not. Not only is not promoting our own stuff our full-time job, but because we put a lot more attention into production. But if we are promoting our work, which of our work do we promote? Where by contrast, one of the big benefits of Legendary, the newest imprint, is that it's all fantasy, and every single one of the books that's coming out next year is within the same, not the same series, because there's a few different series, but it's the same world. So it's like I guess Terry Pratchett's Discworld books, right? They're all in the same world, so every single book supports the entire lineup, and that's much easier to promote. So we have, now we're at the tail end of 2015, and we're looking back in our year and thinking, how could we have done a better job marketing this particular stuff, and how can we, pay more attention to that going forward? And it's not about it's about the right kind of attention too, because it's very easy to just spin your wheels, and every minute that we don't spend creating new stuff, because that is where our hearts are. Like, our hearts are definitely in making awesome stories. Like, that's what we want to do. And so anything else is a distraction from that. So we have to really evaluate how we specifically spend our time to grow these franchises.
And I think that that's maybe really applicable to the concept of our catchword rescuing that we put in the title of this one, because we do have series that they look a little fallow. You know what I mean? Like they're just kind of there, and it's because of the scattered attention, but that's one of the things. That's where we say, okay, well, let's kind of wipe the slate clean. And then I think we decided on, a lot of this is still Jello, but we'll probably do some sort of a rotating focus. And plus the fact that we have team members now too, is, where do we find the bandwidth to promote all this stuff? Well, Sterling and Stone is in a different place now than we were a little while ago, and we don't need to turn the crank. We have people who we can outsource a lot of that stuff to.
Yeah, I think another thing too, when you're really evaluating your business and deciding, what deserves, to be doused and what deserves more fuel, is how creatively fulfilled are you, and is it really adding to your business, or is it subtracting? So back when I first started online, I had like I don't know, 93 blogs, right, Dave? How many blogs did we have between us?
Oh God, I don't even
Zillions, much
Yeah.
like the designs in
Zillions.
99 Designs.
There were so many, and it was really hard because starting a blog super easy, maintaining a blog not so much. And so we would start them all the time for like some of them had made like one post. Dave liked putting them up. Like, okay, here's a new one, and uh, and they're very hard to maintain. And we had them for many different reasons. I was the worst, and once you kind of feed that, it's very difficult to say goodbye. And you feel like there's this real.
It's so hard to
You
say.
feel like there's this real loyalty thing where once
Your
you
cupcakes are done.
shut up. Okay, that wasn't me. I mean, it was me, but it wasn't cupcakes or my wife or daughter. So anyway, once you have, damn it, see what you're doing, asshole.
What? I don't even know what happened.
It's just making me lose my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, evaluating.
Going off the rails.
Stop it! So you have to decide whether something is really an addition or a subtraction. And for me, I get emotionally attached to stuff. So once I start on something, I really want to see it through, and it hurts to just kill it. But sometimes that really is the best decision.
Yeah, we've run into that a few times. But I don't want to stop. And I have that too. It's sunk costs. It's like, well, I've already spent so much time and effort. Well, yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that doing more now is not going to work.
Yeah, so you don't want to throw good money after bad, in business. And because your creative business is fueled by your time, it's the same thing. You can't throw good time after bad. So if you have something that is fundamentally not working, as painful as that may be, you should look that in the eye and say, okay, well, you know what? I need to not do that anymore.
Burn it all to the ground.
So let's say you are a series author and you have a series that it's not really taken off, and you're on maybe you've written the first 3 books and you're on book 4 and your heart's not really in it, but you already are 3 books deep, but you feel kind of demotivated and it doesn't have traction, and you're just doing that 4th book because you feel like you have to. Maybe there's a few readers out there, but really there's not a big audience. And maybe you have another idea that is really exciting, and you feel like you could do that, but you feel like you have to finish this other series. That may be a time where you kind of pull the plug, and that's really painful, and it's also dangerous because you also don't want to be a squirrel. And all of a sudden, this new shiny idea is exciting to you, and you're going to abandon this other series that may get traction. And you have to make that decision for yourself. Do I have enough of an audience here that can support this? Maybe I return to it later. If you look at like Hugh Howey, Hugh Howey had a lot of different little series going on, and then Wool took off. And then he's gone back and added to some of these other series. What was it, the Mollified series? He had several books in that series, and then he went back and added to it. But for a while that wasn't, maybe he was doing something else. He went on to Wool, even though that was a standalone at the time. It was just going to be one thing. He still didn't just sit there hammering over these other series. He went and tried other things, and so maybe it's not even a matter of defeat. It's a matter of
I need to knowing what to quit, and that is hard. That's knowing when to, because quitting gets a bad reputation. Quitting gets like, well, my personal story about this, and I think I've told this before, is I actually started a PhD in.
Oh, this is a great example.
In genetics, and I hated it. I hated it so bad. My first year of grad school, and I was getting paid for it too. So it's not like I'd taken out loans. Like it was kind of a job, and it was grad school, and I hated it so much. The people were nice people, but they were so not my people. Like I just didn't vibe with them, and I hated the work, and everything about it was just terrible and loathsome. And I was like having panic attacks essentially, and at some point I realized that it's kind of an ends versus means thing. It's like, what is your real goal? I realized that I didn't want a career in science because I didn't like what I was doing. Like, why would I want to do more of it? But I just kept doing it because I couldn't quit. I couldn't quit. Like I'd started this thing and I couldn't quit it. And then I realized that my main reason for wanting to get a PhD was to have a PhD. That was it. That was the point. And I had this discussion recently with Austin when he's in Cub Scouts. He's not going to continue. I'm like, well, if you aren't into it, then why would you keep doing it if you genuinely aren't into it? But I can see that is a dangerous thing, because if your personality tips the other way, then you quit too easily.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that either. Like you do, it does take a strange mix of dogged determination and a refusal to quit, combined with knowing exactly what to quit, because you only have so much time in the day.
Right, and you don't want to just abandon things because it got hard or because you're not seeing the traction. It really is a self-inventory. It's an evaluation. Is this working? And that's very hard for all of us, because on the collective Inkwell side, we have all these boxes that we've opened. We have all these series that we started, and we have readers, who really want us to finish those. And we really want to finish those. We want to go back to those wells and see what happened with the story and the characters and the world. But we really do have to justify our time. And same with Realm and Sands. I think we've even opened more boxes at Realm and Sands than the Inkwell. And so we definitely have the stuff that we know we have to do, and then we have the stuff that we really want to do, and we have the revenue drivers. Like Invasion is clearly a big hit for us, and so we owe it to ourselves, to the company, and to those readers to see that through, and so a lot of our attention has to go there. But then that means out of these other boxes that we've opened, and that was a big part of our goals discussion earlier in the week too, was just, okay, well, we really want to follow through with this, and that is part of our goals, but how do we prioritize? And I think prioritizing is a really big part of recalibration.
And the whole closing boxes thing, I don't know if we're going too far down this whole closing boxes thing, but it is about recalibrating. And one of the objections that I had was it's hard for me to get motivated to want to close boxes that we never optimized in the first place, because they just aren't getting as much traction as other things. But it's a chicken and egg scenario where it's not, we never finished it, we never put enough attention in it, so it couldn't get optimized, so of course it doesn't have attention. And so trying to figure out which boxes we do want to close, I think that we've settled on a mixture of, and this is a little bit granular for somebody who doesn't have a bunch of boxes open, if they just have a book or two. But I guess there's a prioritizing lesson here and sort of a cost versus benefit. Some of the things that we're going to close they're just simply going to be easy to close, like Cursed. Like, how much is left in the Cursed series? Not a ton, right?
120,000 words. Yeah, we could close it in a month.
Yeah, now that does, just remember we are full-time authors and we write fast. So if you're thinking 120,000 words, that's my full year. Just for us, it just isn't.
Yeah, but you probably don't have that many boxes open either. And I know that there are a lot of single authors, or maybe they have one series or something. But I still think that this kind of prioritization matters, because maybe you're not having to worry about all these different boxes for series, but maybe you carve out enough of your day so you're spending I don't know, half an hour on Twitter and an hour on Facebook, and you're doing all these, maybe you have a podcast, you're doing all these little things because
podcast is a good example of something a lot of people maybe would want to consider quitting.
Yeah, and so you're hoping, you're doing all these things in the hope that they really fuel your career, but they may be just spinning your wheels. They may be just wasting your time. And if you get some kind of creative juice from it, like maybe you do a podcast where you talk to other creative people, and then you end your hour and you're like on fire and you want to go and you want to write, then there is a value to that. But there's no right or wrong here, I guess is what I'm saying. It really is a matter of taking that inventory and knowing this is what I'm getting out of this. And there's an exchange for everything. If you're giving your time, if you're giving your money, if you're giving your energy, you just have to know what you're getting back so that you can make the most intelligent, informed decision for what you expect in return.
Any final thoughts on ways to wrap up, recalibrate, reboot, rescue? What other problems do people run into?
Well, for me, I think it's really important to be honest. because I think it's very easy to lie to ourselves. I think you want to be really honest with yourself, and when you do that self-inventory, ask yourself the hard questions and give yourself the difficult answers, and then be patient. And I think that's hard too. I mean, these are things that are just hard for human beings. It's hard to be honest with ourselves. It's hard to be patient. But if something isn't working, be honest about it. Be honest about why it isn't working, so you don't repeat the same mistake. And if something just requires a little bit of patience, there's a lot of stuff through every single layer of our company where the right answer is basically, well, just be patient. Like, that is the best answer. It's just,
and it's the best answer, and I hate that answer. Be patient.
right.
Oh my God, do I hate that answer? It's one that we would give as advice a lot. It's one that you've probably heard a lot. It's one that that we have to tell ourselves a lot. Out of the two of these guys, I talk to Sean the most, and the number of times that one of us has told the other, well, I guess we just got to be patient, even at this stage, is kind of ridiculous. And so it's the worst advice, but
it is the solid. It is the best advice, and it's the kind of thing where if we were helping other people, that is what we would say. And it's just kind of a letdown, because we live in a really immediate era right now. We do live in the time of immediate gratification, not
self-gratification. We live in that world too.
In immediate gratification, and we want everything yesterday. And this is something that I'm constantly trying to teach my children about, because they live in an in-demand world, right, or an on-demand world. We used to have to, you had to have 2 VCRs if you wanted to watch 2 shows at the same time and you weren't home, and they just don't quite understand that, and it's really easy to lose sight of that. And we live in a really amazing time where we can put our work out into the world relatively easy, and we can build our own audience and communicate with them and have that direct relationship. And there's just so much amazing stuff that we can do, and it's easy to lose line of sight that that is amazing, and it's faster than it's ever been, and it's almost like we're spoiled, because it's easy and because it's fast. We're not always as appreciative, and it's harder to be patient. But I think it does us good to understand that and to look that in the eye.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. If I've done the math correctly, I think this airs mid-December, which means this may actually be the last live new episode, I'm not sure, of the year on the podcast feed, because Christmas and New Year's, I mean, come on, we're not going to be recording that. So we are coming up in the time when maybe you do want to do some sort of a refresh and just sort of look at your business anew, because it's a new year.
Oh, well, if we're closing out, then if we're closing out the year, then I want to say thank you to everybody listening. We do this for you guys, and
to those of you in November when we're recording this live, stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you so much. And next year is going to be amazing. It'll for sure be the best year our company's ever had, and we can't wait to share that with you. And part of what makes our journey so rewarding is kind of pulling back the curtain and letting people see what we do and kind of benefit from our wins and sidestep our losses. And I'm just really looking forward to next year, and I'm just so appreciative of everybody who listens to our shenanigans.
Wow, you just made it sound like the most boring peep show ever.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Let's pull back the curtain. All right, everybody, so thanks for listening to the Self-Publishing Podcast. We will see you in some form next week. Bye-bye.